Hello everyone, this is Nikhil Ladda and I am here to take your final revision audit classes. We would be covering audit lectures of all the chapters from ICA study material, and by the end of the revision series, you would be able to recall all the lectures with the help of the notes, and these lectures would be of great help during the exam times, which would be help to remember and recollect your answers. A great and big thank to CA Ravi Agarwal sir for giving me such a big opportunity. Today we start with Caro 2016, a company's auditor report order. Caro 2016 is an additional reporting order by the company, which is required by the auditor under section 143 subsection 11 of the Companies Act, which is specified by the central government. Okay. Caro 2016 is divided into applicable and non-applicable, which is one of the most favorite question of ICA. So first we'll see the applicability. Caro 2016 is applicable to every company, including foreign company of clause 42 of subsection 2 of the Companies Act, and Caro 2016 is not applicable to possible. Possible is the mnemonic which I have created to remember error. Mnemonic is the one which you create to memory technique which helps you to remember for a long period of time even after not reading for some time. So, not applicability of Caro 2016 is possible. P for private companies, which is with including some condition. O for one person company of governed defined in clause 62 of section 2 of Companies Act. S for small companies uh, defined in clause 85 of section 2 of the Companies Act, and section 8 companies of the Companies Act 2013, which are known as non-profit organization companies. Insurance company as per Insurance Act 1938, and banking companies is as per section 5C of the Banking Regulation Act. L and E are silent, so this makes us possible. So once again, what is not applicability of Caro 2016? Eh, that is private company, one person company, small company. S for section 8 company, I for insurance company, B for banking company. Condition of a private limited company. Private limited company should not be a subsidiary or a holding company of a public company. Private limited company having a paid up share capital and free reserves, all reserves less debit balance of P&L, if any, should not be or less than equal to 1 crore at balance sheet date. Total borrowing or loans taken from bank or financial institution should be less than or equal to 1 crore at any point of time during the financial year. Total revenue as per Schedule 3 should be less than or equal to 10 crores during the financial year as per the financial statement. Provided that order, this is very important line, guys. So, provided that the order shall not apply to the auditor's report on consolidated financial statements. So, Caro is not applicable on when you make consolidated financial statements of a company, but of that the same company, when you are making separate financial statement, Caro is applicable to that company. Okay, so guys, so moving on to the next part, that is clauses of Caro 2016. So there are, which is the heart of Caro 2016. So there are 16 clauses. Accordingly, I have created a mnemonic so that it would be very easy to remember and for a longer period of time. So fill in the closure date and date of revised morning flight for MNR and PNR. So MNR and PNR are the two guys. Fill in the closure date. Closure date is due to which COVID 2020. There are many closure flights and everything. So that is why. And date of revised morning flight, which you can for MNR and PNR. So you can remember it accordingly. I hope this would be handy to all of you guys. So uh, fill for F for clause 1 fixed assets, clause 2 I stands for inventory, Clause 3, L stands for loan given by company. Clause 4, L stands to director and investment by the company. Clause 5 stands D, fill in the. D stands for public deposits, fill in the closure. C stands for cost records. Clause 7, statutory dues. Clause 8, repayment of dues. So, till now, what we have completed, fill in the closure date and date of revised. So now morning flight for MNR and PNR. So morning flight M, utilizing of money for our IPO and FPO. F for fraud, M for managerial remuneration, N for needy companies. Clause 13, R for related party transactions, and clause 14, P for preferential allotment, clause 15, N for non-cash transaction, clause 16, R for registration with RBI. So in this manner, now with the sequence, we'll study each clause in detail. So clause 1 of para in Caro, the to not to only to remember clause is important, but in a pattern to write the answer is also important. So you start with the quoting with section and 143 subsection 11 of Companies Act 2013 in Caro is an additional reporting in order, and also when you state the clause, so clause 1 of para 3 Caro 2016 you have to write. So in fixed assets, we are covering your main points and also the overview of the clauses, so which you would be remembering in the exam and with very handy. So clause 1, fixed assets, maintain proper records. When you have a fixed assets, so you have to maintain a proper record, like its particular quantitative detail, situation of the fixed assets, like physical verification, whether it is physically verified by the management at reasonable interval of how do you define reasonable interval? So it is, there is nothing such as a particular definition for reasonable interval. You can, depending upon the materiality, you can judge according to yourself. That is, once in every 3 years you can take an example like that. And if you find any material discrepancies are noticed, and if any material discrepancies are noticed, whether which has to be, if yes, the same has to be properly dealt with in the books of accounts. That is, the same has to be changed and made, the books of accounts has to be amended accordingly if there is any material discrepancies, any variation in the stock, in the physical fixed assets. And no, so mention the fact clearly in your report. Title deeds of the immovable property. So title deeds is one of the very important topic in the clause 1 of fixed assets of Caro 2016, which is the most asked and very good point. Examining register. So you have to examine register through which you would come to know whether it is a sale deed, transfer deed, lease deed, or and if it is a transfer deed due to the conversion of partnership firm or LLP to a company or amalgamation, so accordingly you can examine those documents and you will come to know the title of the deed and also what nature it is. Uh, the next comes, if title deeds, that is, if the immovable property are mortgaged with the bank or financial institution for loan, and so you can obtain confirmation for the same from the bank, from the respective financial institution, and you can, by going through the agreement, you can come to know that these are title deeds and these immovable properties are kept for mortgage. If the deed at times it happens that it may be lost, but if it is lost, so there is must be some paperwork done behind the recovery of the papers or any other measures taken or not. So check whether, for example, you can check whether FIR is filed or not. If any discrepancy is pending, as in if the property is in dispute, or if there is any litigation going on, so you can accordingly discuss with the management. So this was clause 1 in fixed assets of Caro 2016. That is, first point is maintaining proper records, second is major point is physical verification, and third is title deeds of immovable property. Clause 2, inventory. So in inventory clause 2, physical verification is very important, and through which we come to know whether there is a variation, whether there is a shortage or surplus of stock, and whether why is it so. So and whether it is material or not, the value is material or not also. So physical verification at reasonable interval by the management, and verify material items at least once in a year. At least once in a year, the physical verification of the inventory should be done by the management. Periodicity of the physical verification depends upon periodicity of the physical verification depends upon on the nature, location, and feasibility of the inventory. So at times it may be a perishable, so it might be not possible to do only once in a year, so you may have to carry n number of times, or you can say once in 3 months, once in 4 months, quarterly, as may be feasible to yourself. Any material discrepancy notice, again the same as we have studied in the above clause, whether any material discrepancy notice. So yes or no. So if their answer comes to yes, the whether it has been as an auditor, you have to check accordingly whether it has been dealt properly in the books of accounts, and whether they have been in properly adjust. And no, state the fact in your report that there has been no material discrepancy notice. So this was clause 2, inventories. Now section 189 of the Companies Act 2013 and governs a register is maintained for contracts or arrangement in which the directors are interested. So here the terms and conditions, there are few basic points which are listed with that, whether every point you should be asking as an auditor, whether the terms and conditions are not prejudicial to the interest of the company, which is not harmful. The terms and condition of the loan given by the company to other company are not harmful for the interest of the company, whether the scheduled payment of the principal and the interest has been stipulated, that is the payment repayment of principal amount and the payment of interest has been according to the normal market norms, and not rather than very low or very high. uh, and also check whether if the total amount is overdue by 90 days. So this is one of the MCQ which can come in our paper, that whether clause 3, loan given to section 189 parties, is the total amount is overdue by 90 days, then reasonable steps should be taken for the recovery of amount and principal. Also a table should be maintained, that number of cases, principal amount overdue, interest overdue, and total overdue remarks, whether if it is overdue by 190 days or not, and whether the prepayment is appropriate. So and why is it so. So this was clause 3, loan given by the company or loan to section 189 parties. Now coming to, so what is section 185? We roughly guess, as per in the first chapter of directors, as we have in law, that is section 185 of the Companies Act governs loan to the directors. So where we can do the verification in verification of the same in section 189 of the Companies Act 2013, where the register is maintained, and also check the details, and if the loan is given to the interested directors who is also interested in some other contracts and arrangement. Also obtain and check the details of the transaction carried out with such person, and also you can do and make a check with verification of verification of form MVP1, that is meeting board power form 1. in which details of such loans and the terms and condition would have to be declared by the company and submitted to the MCA. So, as per section 186, check whether the company has maintained a register as per form uh, meeting board power to come, and also check whether the existing loans, investment, borrowing and guarantee and propose in loans, investment, guarantee, security is whether it is greater than 60% of the paid up share capital plus fee reserves and security premium, or the proposed existing and plus proposed is greater than and 100% of the free reserves and security premium, whichever is more. If the limits exceeds, that is, if the limit that is including the existing plus the proposed, and the limit exceeds a special resolution passed at then a limit exceeds the 60% or 100%, then special resolution should be passed at the general meeting. So also you have to check according to this is basically in correlation with the section 189 186 of the Companies Act 2013, which we study in a law, the second chapter, meeting board and power. The same has been quoted, and if any violation of the same provision of the same section, and then it should be reported by the auditor in Caro 2016. Also, the next one of the important point is the company should not invest in by more than two layers of investment company. For example, if company has made an investment company a name A, and also it has made an investment company B, that is A has invested in B, and B has invested in C, and C. So company cannot make a investment from C, which would be the third layer. So this is not allowed. Hence, company cannot can not make a investment from greater than two layer of a company. Eh, uh, Also, the rate of interest should not be lower than the government securities, which might be 1 year, 2 year, or 5 years, or 10 years. Whether also you have to check whether, as per section 186, whether if the company which is making investment or loan, giving the loan, has made any default in repayment of any deposit accepted or in payment of interest of the same, then the company is not allowed to give any loan, guarantee, or security for the same. So here we complete clause 4, that is loan to directors and investment by the companies. So loan to director is section 185, if an investment guarantee security by the company is section 186, which the both we have covered exhaustively. Now coming towards clause 5, which is public deposit, complied with directives of issued by the RBI. So whenever a company is taking in any public deposit or any other kind of deposit, it has to comply with certain regulation as framed by RBI. The provision of section 73 or and 76 of the Companies Act 2013 and also rules frame thereunder should be complied. If yes, then state the fact, or no, and whether if the provisions are violated, then whether if any order is passed by Company Law Board, which is now the National Company Law Tribunal, RBI, any court, any tribunal against the company for non-compliance, and also whether the same after which the order is passed has been complied or not, has to be checked by the uh, uh, auditor in the Caro. So basically, what you have to check and how you would be checking whether there is a violation of the same. So first, check whether the acceptance of deposit is taken in appropriate manner, whether that efficiency in internal control is there, and now the deposit is taken from a sister concern company or at any rate and any interest rate. Also check the repayment of the public deposit, that is whether the deposit which was taken and the interest on the deposit is being paid at a very low rate of interest. So all these should be checked by the auditor, and if any of these is violated, so the same should be reported under clause 5 of para 3 of caro 2016. So here we complete our clause 5 of public deposit, caro para 3 of caro 2016. Moving towards clause 6, which is cost records. uh, in cost records, basically what we have to check is whether the cost records are being maintained and ordered, or are being maintained and ordered by the CG to maintain. So these are two things which we have to basically check in this clause. That's it. So check whether the cost records have been made and maintained by or ordered by the CG to be maintained. Just take a prima facie view of cost records as per section 148 is subsection 1 of the Companies Act 2013, which governs the books of accounts relating to the utilization relating to the cost records for utilization of material, labor, or cost, which is the basic need in the books of accounts for cost records, that is material, labor, and cost. So this completes our clause 6 of cost records. So up till now, we have completed 6 clauses of para 3 of caro 2016. Why I am again repeating para 3 of caro 2016? Because which you have to be writing in exam, and also the you will the examiner while checking will also get an idea, yes, this guy or this person is thorough, and the 1 mark which you will be getting is also a bonus, and thereafter your answer will be different from others. So revising the first 6 clause again. So how we go: fill in the closure. So fill. So clause 1 comes to, oh, 1 second, I'll scroll up. Yeah. So clause 1, we have completed fixed assets. As second is inventory, loans given by company to, or loans given to 189 parties, section 189 parties, loan given to directors, which was section 185, and investment by the company, section 186, whether they have been complied or not. Clause 5, public deposits, the directives of RBI have been complied or not. Clause 6, cost records, which has been made or maintained or ordered by the CG to be made or maintained. Moving towards clause 7, which is one of the most important clause, statutory dues. So statutory dues are divided into two parts, which is disputed and undisputed statutory dues. So which gives a view whether the statutory dues are being paid on time or are in dispute. So how you decide whether it is in dispute or not in dispute? So basically, we go to undisputed one. With the list given in undisputed one are income tax, sales tax. Now there is goods and service tax, excise tax. Then also various other kind of tax, VAT, which is still applicable on alcohol and petrol. Well, the undisputed is the one by the name you can come to know, where there is no dispute. So how come there is no dispute when there is a regularity in payment? So also regularity in payment is governed in 3 parts, that is regular, generally regular, not regular. So what does regular governs? Regular governs is the one, the person which pays regularly on time, that is before due date. If GST due date is on 20th of the next month and he is paying before 20th. Generally regular, what is the difference between, major difference between regular and generally regular? Government also understands that due to shortage of funds, or at times uh, due to some basic needs, basic misfunctioning, or sometimes we tend to miss the date So these are the person who miss the due date and pay after the due date, but before 6 months of the balance sheet date. And not regular are the one which do not pay the dues which are they are liable to pay, such as the payment of service tax, VAT, goods or service tax, or income tax, even after the balance, uh, even after 6 months from the date of the balance sheet ending, that is on or before, you can simply take 30th September of that financial year. So this was the undisputed one. So now we come to the towards the disputed statutory dues. The list is exclusive. That is, when we say the list is exclusive, that we mean all kinds of discrepancies such as sales tax, VAT, income tax, other state and corporation, that is yeah, provident fund, and also you can take state insurance corporation act, also any other compliance by the those charged with governance has not been properly governed. So here what we have to check majorly to report under Caro is check the amount involved which is disputed in the forum pending, whether actually there has been made an appeal or whether it is actually in dispute. Just on a mere one or two sitting or mere one or two representation for the dispute does not amount it to be a disputed statutory dues. It would, if there is a normal one or two sitting of representation and not appeal, or not the order is passed or appealed against the higher authority, so it comes under undisputed dues rather than disputed dues. So, accordingly, the auditor has to report in clause 7 of para 3 of CARO 2016 in statutory dues. Moving towards clause 8, repayment of dues. So, repayment of dues is company, whether the company has made any default in repaying of the dues of the banks, financial institution, government, and debenture trust and debenture holders. If there is a default, yes, then period and amount both should be reported. What was the amount of the default and for what period the default was made. So then you have to mention lender wise detail in case of bank, like from which bank, how much amount, and for how much period, and, from the bank, financial institution, and government. And no lender wise detail is required in case of debenture holder, that can be understood easily as uh, it comes in that manner. Obtain confirmation, so as an auditor, for the same, to confirm the default, you have to obtain confirmation with the bank and the financial auditor as to the status of, sorry, to know the status of the loan account as at the balance sheet date, whether the defaulted loan has been repaid, or still it is outstanding or not repaid. And also, at times, the client may submit that we have applied for reschedulement and restructuring of the repayment of the dues. So there is no default. But no, that is not the case. Mere, as you can say, just by submitting a form and also rescheduling and getting the loan rescheduled does not mean that you have not committed the default. Once a default has been done, once a payment has been missed by the client, so the default has been made. Accordingly, the auditor should report under clause 8 of para 3 CARO 2016 for repayment of dues. Moving for clause 9, which is end use of money, or you can also say utilization of IPO, initial public offer, or money raised by further public offer. So it is also known as end use of money raised through IPO, end use of money. This word is very important. End use of money raised through IPO and FPO, debt instrument, and term loan. In here, majorly, what we have to check is whether it is applied for the purpose it was stated in the offer document, So when we read a IPO, there is a clear allotment for which the money has been taken by the company, for what purpose, what project, and actually whether it has been, as stated in the offer document, has been applied for. So in Caro, we have to report that, and also you can check whether there is a delay and default in the application of money, and whether subsequent rectification has been done for the same. In loan, in the case of loan, you have to refer for the loan agreement, and a loan agreement for the proposed use of money, and in IPO and FPO, which is initial public offer and further public offer document. And you can actually see whether the proposed used money which was proposed that in the offer document and loan agreement, actually whether has been used, you can be checked from the books of accounts, and by through which you would come to know whether the money has been properly or aptly applied. And also you can report accordingly in clause 9 of para 3 of clause of Caro 2016. So coming towards the next clause, clause 10, in which is fraud. So it is one of the most frequent question asked on clause 10 of para 3 of clause of Caro 2016, and clause 10 fraud, or whether there has been a fraud made by the company or on the company by its employee or officer, whether it is noticed or reported it. So if there is a fraud conducted by the company or on the company by its officer or employee, and whether this fraud was noticed or reported, if yes, then state the nature and the amount involved. So in Caro, you have to state the nature and amount involved to be indicated. Fraud by external person or party on a company is not to be considered for reporting under this clause, because basically you're reporting for the company and not whether the fraud is conducted by an external party, which is not relevant in this clause. Also, fraud as per section 143.12 have noticed fraud and suspected fraud. So, as you know, auditor is not a bloodhound but a watchdog. So you have to check whether there is a noticed fraud and not a suspected fraud, whether you have to investigate or so you are not here to investigate, and hence you have to check whether there is a noticed fraud, and also whether it has been in stated the appropriate nature and amount of the fraud involved has to be stated in the report. Auditor also has to consider the principle of materiality as per standards of auditing 320. So as you go on further, as per clause 10 of para 3 of Caro 2016, you can see we are coming across three more linking points, the one of which it is 143.12, which is a reporting of fraud under the Companies Act for you might be knowing frauds above 1 crore and frauds below 1 crore. Accordingly, we have to report to the CG and also the audit committee if there is a reply received within 15 days or not. And accordingly, also as per SA 320. So in exam also, if we come across an answer of fraud, we should write at least these 3 points. That is clause 10 of fraud, clause 10 fraud of Caro 2016 in reporting under section 143 a clause 12, and also as per SA 320 principles of materiality, make inquiries. Also you can come to know whether there is a fraud or not. Accordingly, being spectacle, you can make inquiries with the management and the employee, and also examine the internal audit report and minutes of the audit committee, so through which you can also come to know whether there is an actual fraud being committed by the company or on the company, which would be a more prudent and appropriate manner. Also, finally, we can obtain a written representation from the management and whether the fraud was noticed or not, and if yes, whether the nature and amount are being indicated. So, which is comes under 580. So, one more linkage we have found. So here we can conclude that while reporting for fraud, हम लोग को you can say 10 to 12 times देखना पड़ता है. That is clause 10 of fraud of Caro and clause 12 of section 143.12. Sorry, subsection 12 of section 143.12 of Companies Act 2013 and SA 320 materiality standards on auditing on materiality, and also you can obtain a written representation in SA 580 from the management. Also, we can write one more standards on auditing responsibility of auditor under section under standard of auditing 240. So this can also be written. So here we sum up our clause 10 of fraud. So from again we'll start, yes, so that we can recall our clauses appropriately and also through our mnemonic. So we'll go up again. This is the benefit of mnemonic. So you can remember the clause appropriately and also recall. So fill in the closure of the date of revised morning flight. So we have come up to flight. So again, how would you recall? F for fixed assets, I for inventory, loan given by company to 189 parties, loan to director under section 185, investment by companies under section 186, public deposit, and whether directives and measures made by the RBI are complied, cost records made and maintained, and statutory dues disputed, undisputed, and repayment of dues default are made, and the nature and amount. So and also end use of money, which is also utilization of money for IPO and FPO, whether the same has been applied for fraud. As you know, we have linked with uh, 4 to 5 sub clauses and standards on auditing, which is first which comes up to our mind is clause 10 of para 3 of Caro 2016, subsection 12 of section 143 143 of the Companies Act to report fraud to the CG. Uh, then a responsibility of the auditor to report fraud or as per standard of auditing in 240, as per say 320 materiality of the fraud amount, and as per 580 obtaining a written representation of the fraud. So now we are remaining with the 6 clauses. So going to MNR and PNR, so which is very simple, and also over to the particular point, managerial remuneration. So coming to managerial remuneration, clause 11. Managerial remuneration. So managerial remuneration, as we have studied in this law also, it should be paid as per section 197 and schedule 5 of the Companies Act 2013. So the payment made to the manager or the executive director, MD, whole time director, should be in accordance and approved in Schedule 5 of the Companies Act 2013. So, if this is not approved or not as per section 197, and then this amount should be the auditor has to state the amount involved, the amount involved, the amount involved, and the steps taken and by the company for securing refund and of the same. Section 197 and Section 190, Section 197 also states a maximum ceiling limit on the managerial remuneration, which is 11% of the net profit, except remuneration not should be deducted from the gross profit. Also, this is not applicable to a private company, which is the as per section 197 of the Companies Act. Also, one more point which has to be checked by the auditor: managerial remuneration includes salary, perquisites, and commission on profit. Whether it does not include the sitting fees which has been paid to the manager uh, for the attending the meetings, and remuneration payable to the directors for services of professional in nature, which has been given by the director or the manager, and sitting fees. So these two are not included in managerial remuneration. These are excluding managerial remuneration. And also, in case of at times the company do not have adequate profit, so the managerial remuneration given as per the amended section 197 should be according to schedule 5 of the Companies Act 2013, which is very well linked. If you have studied section 197, you can accordingly correlate with it very easily. Also, if there is excess of managerial remuneration given by the company to the manager, then it can be done by passing a special resolution uh, in a general meeting, which was previously with the approval of central government. But as per the amendment, this can be done without the approval of central government, that is CG, without the approval of CG on MCA. By passing a special resolution in a general meeting, the manager can be paid managerial remuneration in excess of the in excess of the amount as stated in section 197 or computed in 197. So here we complete our clause 11, managerial remuneration, which is very well linked with the section 197 and schedule 5 of the Companies Act. And we have to state whether if it is not complied, the amount involved and the steps taken, and for securing if excess paid by the company to the manager for securing refund. So remember this clause, guys, because this is one of the important clause for exam. And now coming to clause MNR. So MNN for Nidhi, clause 12. So Nidhi company, if a clause 12 Nidhi company, any Nidhi company having a net owned fund to deposit should be having a ratio of 1 is to 20 to meet out the liability. So if a Nidhi company is having a net owned fund of 1 crore, it should be having a deposit of 20 crore accordingly to meet its liability. Or it can accept a deposit of 20 crores. You can also take in that manner. And also the Nidhi company should has been complied that it has to maintain 10% unencumbered deposit. That is amount what is unencumbered term deposit, that is free of charge. The meaning of unencumbered deposit is free of charge. And this 10% unencumbered deposit should be invested with scheduled commercial bank and post office or post office deposit, wherever this is a conservative measure to, in case if there is any problem in the company of liquidity, to meet out any liability. So 10% of unencumbered term deposit is to be made and kept, where these are following the definition of net owned fund, which is paid up equity share capital plus free reserves less accumulated losses and intangible asset as per the last available balance sheet. So here it has been a bit cut. Sorry for that. An issue of preference share is not to be included. That is why it is paid up equity share capital. Deposit and deposit liability, which is, so Nidhi company accepts deposit, that is fixed assets, saving deposit and recurring deposit from its member in accordance with the direction by CG. Auditor to ask the management provide computation, auditor has to ask the management, to provide the computation for the deposit liability and net owned fund, through which it can assess whether the net owned fund ratio has been maintained, net owned fund to deposit ratio, and also whether they have been maintaining a 10% encumbered deposit. If yes, then the fact has to be stated in the Caro report. If no, then reasonable, and accordingly it has to be stated whether the amount and also the nature if not maintained. So coming to clause 13, which is MNR, that is related party transaction. Clause 13, transaction. So related party transaction, as we when we hear related party transaction, the one thing which comes to our mind are not one thing, at least we can relate to two or three things. As of now, previously it was related when there was accounting standards. Now, as in new course, there is Ind AS, and also a question has been asked on in I guess in May 19 on Ind AS 24, or in audit paper related party, and also AS 18. So how this report, how this has to be reported by the auditor. uh, Related party transaction has been bifurcated in two parts, that is transaction and details disclosed. So the transaction, we have to check whether the transactions are in compliance as per section 177 and section 188. What is section 177? Section 177 of the Companies Act is audit committee, which gives approval for the related party transaction, and also section 188, which is the related party transaction section as per Companies Act. Whether there is any violation of these two acts and approval is not taken, or if the provision of section 188 is violated, then we have to report in Caro 2016. Accordingly, the details disclosed in the financial statement and should be according to the financial reporting framework as governed by accounting standards. If the accounting standards are followed, or if Ind AS are followed by the company, then as per Ind AS 24, the auditor should obtain a list of companies and other parties. So how would the auditor come to know whether it is a related party or not? It would look into the register maintained under section 189. This section we have come across at least thrice in Caro, and also we have in detail in law for register maintained under section 189 for the interested directors. The agreement and the arrangement made by the company, and also verify these entries, so the auditor will eventually come to know whether the related party transaction has been done or not. uh, Also, as per section 177 subsection 4 clause 4, requires audit committee, as said above, to approve the transaction of the companies with the related party transaction with the related parties. Also, the transaction can be assessed based on the ordinary course and arm's length price. So if you can also assess whether the transaction has been done and very below the market price, or below the arm's length price, or above arm's length price, to keep the between margin profit, also to manipulate the financial statement accordingly as per SA 550 related party. He is a standard auditing related party. Also, auditor should obtain a written representation as a completeness to information provided to the auditor, provided to the auditor, that the above related information provided by the management to the auditor is true as per their knowledge. So, as per clause 13 of Caro 2016, of para 3 Caro 2016, we have to check whether the compliance has been done, and also the detail disclosed as per Ind AS 24 and AS 18, and also as per standards of auditing 550 related party transaction and 580 which is written representation. Now we come to P and R, which is the remaining last three clause. That is clause 14, preferential allotment. The word preferential allotment itself conveys us the message that whether it is a preferred allotment or private placement of uh, fixed convertible debenture or fully convertible debenture, pardon me, or partly convertible debenture complied, and whether they have been here. We have to also check whether the section 42 of the Companies Act 2013 has been complied, and the amount raised is used for the stated purpose. So when there is a preferential allotment made or private placement made, there is an offer letter which states the purpose and also the object of this allotment for gaining the liquidity and allotting the convertible debenture accordingly, and whether the amount raised through this allotment has been used for the stated purpose in the offer letter, and if not, then the auditor has to report under caro para 3, caro 2016, and this can be actually this can be checked by the auditor from assessing the actual use by the assessing the books of accounts of the company. Moving towards the next clause, clause 15, non-cash transaction, that is PANR ka N. So that is non-cash transaction. So this is one of the most important clause, and there is a chance that a question might be asked on this, because almost 4 attempts back question was asked on this. So I see a tend to repeat it way of pattern of asking question. So it is not a hard deal of this clause, clause 15, non-cash transaction. So in this, we have to check whether the company has entered in any non-cash transaction with the director, like whether the company has given any car, any furniture, any house to the director for and the direct like if any car is given, so that is a non-cash transaction. Any house is given, that is a non-cash transaction, rather than giving a money or paying a monetary term. So whether the director is accordingly repaying it, whether it is according to the market terms or not. So all such compliance as stated in section 192 has to be are complied or not. So you can also check by obtaining a written representation or management representation. And for any non-cash transaction with the director, you can also scrutinize the fixed asset register. As I told, if there is any car given or any home, a guest house or a house given to the director, so you can check with the fixed asset register and also meetings of the director whether it correlate or not. And if it is not correlating, then you'll come to know that it has not been complied, and whether the same transaction has been discussed in the minutes of in the general meeting and has been noted in minutes of the book of general meeting, report on AGM. Compliance with section 192, notice of general meeting plus value of asset and value calculated by the registered valuer. So in compliance with section 192, 192, it should be a notice should be given in the general meeting, and the value of asset should be assessed by the registered valuer, so that there is no appropriate amount has been assessed for which the non-cash transaction has been conducted, and company should obtain a prior approval for such arrangement either general meeting. That is very aptly said. So when there is such a big transaction of non-cash transaction happening, the company should have prior approval of taken in the general meeting. So this can also come as an MCQ. Director is a director of a company, holding company. The latter two has to be obtained So if the director is also a director of the holding company, so also the prior approval of the holding company general meeting also has to be obtained. So here it is general meeting, sorry guys for the as the it has been cut, but I, you can while reading or writing listening this video, you can make according changes. So general meeting, auditor to verify and check compliance with section 192 as read in the first line, and if it is not compliant, then the auditor has to accordingly report in clause 15 in of para 3 caro 2016 in non-cash transaction. So coming towards the last clause, which would be the last clause, so that is PNR, that is registered with RBI. The clause 16 is registration with RBI. So here you have to check a basic criteria, and not a hard deal, that is company required to be registered with RBI under RBI under section 1 section 45 IA 45 IA of RBI Act 1934. If the company required to be registered under this section 45 IA has been registered or not. If not, state the fact. If yes, check whether the registration has been obtained. So if a company is liable to obtain registration under with RBI for under section 45 IA, if yes, then check whether the registration has been obtained or not. If no, state the reason. What could be the possible reason in the Caro report? And if yes, then it's okay, and state the fact in your report. Examine. You can also examine further this by that is what clause. As you can look, we have also covered the pointers from the inside from the clause, and we have not left any point and of any clause. All the main points, almost 90% of the clause and 90% of the caro 2016 has been covered. So examine the transaction of the company with the relation to the activities under RBI Act. Act so the RBI Act, companies to be registered under section 45 IA has to the auditor can check whether the financial statement and a financial statement company having financial assets greater than or equal to 50% of the total assets, and income from company's financial assets is greater than 50% of the gross income, then it has to register under 45 register under RBI Act 1934 under section 45. And also company has a net owned fund as required by the NBFC, that is a non-banking financial corporation. So if the if the below stated provisions are not complied, then the auditor has to accordingly report in clause 16 of para 3 of caro 2016. Accordingly, here we complete our whole 16 clauses of Caro 2016. I guess it is in around 1 hour, and we have completed all the 16 clauses plus the applicability and the non-applicability of Caro 2016. So again, we go on our main page, which is the mnemonic, sorry, and which is to be remembered by you till the exam, and I am assured that you will remember it very easily and appropriately. So again, we'll revise all the clause. So you can also revise with me. Phil, can you read with me again once again? And yes, come on. Fill in the closure date and date of revised morning flight or PNR and MNR. Closure date, how do you remember this mnemonic? Closure date, as it is COVID, many flights have been cancelled and revised for MNR and PNR. So, first, fill in the closure date. So for F, fixed assets. I, for inventory. Loan given by the company to 189 parties. Loan to directors under section 185. Investment by the company under section 186. Public deposit uh, closure, cost records, date, statutory dues, and repayment of the dues, revised morning flight. So for R is utilization of money for IPO and FPO, that is end use of money. A morning flight. F for fraud, clause 10 fraud. For MNR and PNR, which is very easy. M is managerial remuneration. N is Nidhi companies, is that is net owned fund 1 is to 20, you have to remember. R is related party transaction. SF 550. Ind AS 24, accounting standard 18. And also whether it is whether section 177 and 188 has been complied or not, preferential allotment, and whether the money raised has been appropriately used to non-cash transaction as per section 192 has been uh, uh, has been accordingly complied or not. And the last but not the least, clause 16, in which can also come as an MCQ, company required to register under section 45 IA of the RBI Act 1934, are have been complied or not, whether has to be stated under which clause 16, or clause 16 has might be given, and which section might have been asked to you. So here we complete our Caro 2016 approx 1 hour and 10 minutes. So so you can complete your Caro and revise it again and again by this video. So again, I thank Ravi Agarwal sir for giving me this opportunity to come up this lecture, and my notes will be shared in the link below. So thank you guys, thank you very much for watching this lecture. If you like this lecture, please do like and share with your friends and amongst your group. And also, if you have any difficulty, any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. Thank you very much.